of technology that some of us feel is at the cutting edge of what technology is supposed to do, and others view as mightily intrusive. Before moving to the opening remarks, I'm going to introduce the panel. My name is Robert Givens, and we have a very distinguished panel to cover the various aspects of this issue this evening, beginning with Ben Stone, who's the Executive Director of the Civil Liberties Union, American Civil Liberties Union of Iowa, Carolyn Dieterle, who serves on the Board of Directors of the Hawkeye chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union of Iowa, and is a member of Stop Big Brother org. Professor Nicholas Johnson, who teaches cyber law at the University of Iowa Law School. Gary Biller, who is president of the National Motorist Association. Two members of the Iowa State Senate, Senator Mark Shelgren of Ottumwa, and Senator Brad Zahn from Berkeley. Welcome, everyone. Now I'm going to turn to Joey Gallagher, who's president of the Young Americans for Liberty, who's going to make some opening remarks. Following that, we will hear from a few members of the panel, and then we will turn to we'll have a demo and then panel discussion.
All right, thank you all again for coming out on this beautiful evening. I personally love this issue because I just see it right now that so many people of different political backgrounds are coming together and fighting this important issue that affects everyone. You know, sometimes political issues get so distant from us. We hear it on the news. You know, this is an issue that affects us all every day because I mean, how many people here and drive? Almost everyone, I'm assuming. But I want to thank you all again for coming out, and let's get this started.
Thank you. Ben, would you like to begin?
Sure, Robert. I'll do that, I guess. Hey, thanks for coming out tonight. It's great to be here. I'm really encouraged by the stopbigbrother.org. By the way, how'd you get that domain? That's awesome. Is that local? I mean, is that just Iowa City people got that?
Yep.
Wow.
Orwell stopped paying his...
Yeah, I guess that's right. The Orwell family just let it slide. They just didn't realize. Well, the ACLU of Iowa has been involved in this. You know, if I'm going to say basically you've got traffic cameras, drones, automatic license plate readers. Those are the three main kind of areas. There's also GPS tracking warrants for those. There's a bill in the legislature about how the police can access GPS tracking of cell phones. So there's a whole lot of issues, and man, we could talk about it for days, but obviously we're not going to do that. So I've spent a lot of time, I know Senator Zahn and I have both been talking about traffic cameras for a long time. The ACLU of Iowa did sue back in 2006 to try and challenge the notion that local communities could put up traffic cameras. The main argument was uniform traffic codes and the concept that home rule didn't really apply, that everybody should, when you drive through the state, you should have the same traffic regulations all across the state. Unfortunately, just missed on that one. But the due process argument is still out there, and hopefully someday that will come before the Supreme Court of Iowa. But they are here, and there's a lot that can be said. I think I'm going to not spend a lot of time talking about that. I'm going to go ahead and talk about drones and a little bit about automatic license plate readers. Drones are a growing industry. Now, there's a couple of different issues that have kind of been in the news here lately. One issue is there's been an effort to, I think by Rockwell Collins here in the Eastern Corridor, to develop manufacturing drones. So that's kind of an issue. That's not really an issue for my organization, but it's out there. Discussions with people whether that's an appropriate industry for Iowa to have. There's also the issue of using drones around the world that are weaponized, and the Obama administration using them to a very advanced degree to target people around the world and to kill them, obviously without any due process. And you may recall the Rand Paul filibuster a few weeks ago that was really quite inspiring, talking about that issue. So I don't think that's really what we're here for tonight. But that's another very important issue. And the ACLU was very involved in that. We've sued for information. And seen a little bit of movement on that, getting a little bit more exposure of kind of the rationale and thinking behind the idea that you can execute an American citizen abroad without due process. And then you got the issue of domestic drones over American skies. This has been a pretty popular topic. I've probably talked on this at least 3 or 4 times on the radio in the last 6 or 8 months. Basically what's happened is that the technology to fly unmanned aerial devices, planes, whatever, they can be this big or they can be massive size. These small ones can be very cheap. I mean, you can get one for $300. You can get one off the internet. And the FCC, or excuse me, the FAA has been dealing with this. Congress passed a bill about a year ago that mandated that the Federal Aviation Administration begin a more expedited process of sending permission, of allowing permission for domestic drones to be used primarily by domestic law enforcement. You know, and there's been some places, none in Iowa that we know of, that have actually purchased these. There was a situation in California where they did begin the purchase of these, and there's been some pushback. In Seattle, actually, they actually had the drones delivered, and the people in Seattle revolted, descended on the city council, and the mayor said, we're sending them back, we're not going to use them. That was about a month ago. So you know, you guys are a part of something that's happening in this country, and it's encouraging. Several states, including Florida and Virginia, have really pushed legislation along that either have a moratorium on drones or restrict their development, or and so that's happening. There's been, Iowa's got a bill. Senator Zahn, you were, I don't know if Mark, you were on that as well, but there was a bill offered right before the funnel, but it's good to have that bill in there because it's there for next year. It'll be a good vehicle for this. And they called for a moratorium, basically. What the ACLU's position is on drones is not that we're against them. We're not neo-Luddites. We don't think that technology is the end of the world. At least not as an organization. Maybe some of our members think that. But we believe that there are useful, practical things that unmanned aerial devices can do. I mean, they're really amazing, the stuff they can do. It's at one time interesting and fascinating and cool, but it's also kind of creepy and kind of scary. And so you got to kind of balance those. You got to balance your Star Wars with your George Orwell, right? You know. But what the ACL believes is that we need to push back as citizens and policymakers and lawmakers and say, look, this technology needs to be thought about. We need to think how we're going to use it. What are the practical uses of it? What is the objective of using these things? When is it appropriate to use them? And how do we go about regulating when they are placed above the skies? We believe there needs to be regulation regarding the data that's collected, because these are not just, you know, cameras in the sky. They collect data. They can have facial recognition. They can have all kinds of GPS tracking. They can know which car that they see, and license plate readers are the same. So the data they collect, how long is it going to be maintained? Who has access to it? Is it going to be incorporated with other databases? There's a tremendous amount of information that both drones and automated license plate readers can gather. And believe me, the reason this is so scary is that this is not just, you know, people thinking, hey, these are kind of cool, let's think about using them. No, there is an industry, and it is closely associated with the aerospace and defense industries. And they have started an association, they're lobbying Congress, and they are making contributions to political campaigns, and they are seeking federal dollars to be pushed out of Congress into the states to create grants so that local law enforcement will buy and get this federal money, and they will use that money to purchase these aerial vehicles. And they want the skies filled with drones. That's how they're going to make money. And I'm going to leave it at this. I'm going to tell you that the skies above America belong to the people, not to the drone industry, and not to the automotive license. And with that, I will pass along to my good lay leader here, Caroline Dealey, another ACLU volunteer activist.
Well, I think that Ben has said an awful lot that I totally agree with. I find it very frightening. If you use your imagination and you think about all of the footage, all the pictures that these cameras can take, and the fact that they have facial recognition and so forth, they are capable then basically of hunting somebody down. And I have a sneaky suspicion that this wouldn't be a case a lot of the time, where they would be watching, basically benignly. They would be looking for somebody in particular, and you could say, well, that's the way they're going to catch bank robbers, and that's the way they're going to get criminals, and make our streets safer. Because the governments who want to use these, the local governments, the local police, whatever, will use the old reliable standby of fear to make you want to go ahead and do what they want. In other words, you don't want to be having your house robbed, you don't want to be murdered, you don't want to be shot, therefore give us these drones and we can hunt down the bad guys. But the problem with that philosophy is, who decides who's the bad guy? And what's to prevent severe abuse of this? Somebody who is simply a political dissenter, who would then be harassed to the point that life wouldn't be worth living, simply because they protested or they didn't agree with what was going on.